Hey guys, I had to record the otherwise live Lost Arts Radio live show that's going to be airing Saturday in 2 days. I think that's the 22nd if I remember right. And so I just had to give you a little update about a news that's going on today. I'll keep it really short. A couple of really interesting things. The current US president, whose name I try not to mention so we don't get banned any faster than we have to, is actually pulling troops out of Syria. This is wonderful. And it's the first major sign that he's actually thinking of keeping his anti-war promises, which is one of the big reasons we supported him during the campaign. And he's got the government seal of approval because they're all attacking him. The whole criminal major media that we've got, that most of the public doesn't even know how horrible they are and how dishonest and treacherous. They're just horrible. Anyway, they're all criticizing and attacking him and saying he's working for Russia and all this complete nonsense that I hope none of us is dumb enough to fall for. I mean, nobody needs to fall for the kind of stuff that's on the major media. A lot of it's actually dangerous and harmful. But the president is showing, even under total attack from all directions, surrounded by traitors, many of the people that he actually brought in to help him are attacking him, and he's, in spite of that, with all these monsters around him, he's pulling the troops out of Syria. This should have the support of everybody in America, because it's a great thing for the country. He said he would start pulling people out of all these occupations and wars around the world that the United States should never be involved in without a real defensive purpose, which generally doesn't exist. As far as killing ISIS in Syria, Russia's been taking care of that in a wonderful way, and they never needed the U.S. help for that at all. The U.S. has been working against them, supporting the terrorists, and the fact that the president's pulling out of that is wonderful. The other thing that I couldn't cover, because it wasn't happening when we recorded the live show for this weekend, is the central banks in the they're in every country, every major country, okay? And they're controlling the country. How? Because they control the money, not just the interest rates. They actually are allowed to issue fake money and call it money and then charge interest on it and make everybody go into debt to survive, including governments. This is a huge crime. It's basically terrorism going on in every country by the central bank. In the US, you've heard of it, I'm sure. It's called Federal, which it's not federal at all. It's mostly foreign owned, and it's private. And Reserve, which is misleading because it doesn't use any real reserves at all. It's just computer entries. And it says, okay, to the other banks, here's money, which of course it's not, it's just computer entries. Now you owe us all this money with interest. And then they in turn do fractional reserve banking with the people. It's a complete scam to steal all the wealth of most of the countries. Most of the wealth of almost all the countries, actually. And needs to be shut down, which Ron Paul and others have talked about. G. Edward Griffin was on our show not long ago, and he'll be back in January talking about this exact thing. But at the moment, you know, the central banks like the one I just mentioned in the US are sitting there with such massive power, and people don't usually realize it because they're not exercising it other than very, very gradually stealing the value of the money. It's called inflation, and they cause it. How do they cause it? By printing more and more and more based on nothing. Okay, it's an incredible crime. Started in the US in 1913 under President Wilson. We need to become an intelligent population and demand that stuff like this stops. Right now they just figure if the media hides everything that's really happening and tells you a lot of nonsense, nobody will complain until they're totally destroyed. So the new party that's against the president is coming in a few days into the House, and they plan to do everything they can to attack him, stop anything good that he's done, make sure the borders stay open so anybody can just come in, drug gangs, religious terrorists, whatever, and it's all great, to destroy the country. That's really the purpose of that party. And the party that supposedly supports the president, we have two major parties in this country. The one that's supposedly on the president's side, most of them are traitors too. It's a really serious situation. A lot of it is involving the central bank that I talked about. A lot of it's involving other big industries like the drug industry and the industry making things to inject into kids that are killing a lot of them for the sake of staying healthy, right? If you're dumb enough to fall for that, you need to have some serious help. and I'm not here to say hate the bad guys. I'm just saying become awake to the situation, and if you want to improve it, work on yourself. Like Michael Jackson said, the man in the mirror. That's much, much more powerful than people realize. Become who you really are, and there's no way that the negative cartel can keep going. And they know that, and that's why behind all these agendas is the number one agenda to keep you unconscious of yourself. So take that as good guidance. Become conscious. That's what it's telling you to do. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on these two things in the news. The central bank in the U.S. is actively attempting to destroy the economy and then blame the president, so it can be a helpful factor in removing him from office, even illegally, by saying, look, the president's destroying the economy, figuring that most of the public doesn't understand. It's the constant raising of interest rates and other connected activities by the federal, they call it reserve in the U.S., that is destroying the economic gains that the current president has helped happen, so that the public will think, oh yeah, maybe he is bad. Be intelligent, be aware, this is going on, and the fact that he's pulling out of Syria is incredible. That's why the news says he's a monster. So translate, that means reverse most of this stuff, and you'll have a better grasp of what's going on. And I'll talk to you again on the news program on Saturday. We recorded it this week, but it's still got a lot of important stuff. So meet me there, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern U.S. time. Saturday, Planetary Healing Club is right after it, half an hour after it ends, and I hope to see you there too. That's going to be a live, interactive show. It's not recorded, and I'll meet you there in person, okay? So, see you in a few days.